Hi, folks. This is another episode of Product Innovation Show, and I'm here with Alex Zhezerov, who is originally from Belarus, where he did his business administration degree, and now he's a director of product at a company called Wrike, which is a cloud-based collaborative work management platform for managing cross-functional work. Alex, thank you for coming. Great to have you on the show here.
Hey, Sergey, happy to be here. Yeah, let's do that.
What are you excited about right now? What's going on?
Well, good question. I recently got married.
Oh,
So been,
congrats.
together with my girlfriend, right now wife, spouse for many years, and we get married in May. Super excited. Basically, nothing has changed, but still it's a kind of new time for us.
A lot
I
has
also,
changed. That's a big difference.
yeah,
That's a change in status.
it's a change of status only. Yeah. I also started writing my own blog. Um, I've been thinking about doing that for at least a year, and I decided it's better to do and start something than just to think about that. So I started that. I write about B2B SaaS, but probably going to expand to to other topics. I just writing a post, an essay about my morning thinking practice, my new routine, which is amazing.
Love it. I'm
So
going to ask you
yeah,
about it. Well, so
exactly.
you write the B2B SaaS newsletter. You were doing that for some time. What's in it?
I write about strategy, and different business model, and basically, what's kind of the knowledge I have and I acquired throughout the years. I write about that. Write about different differentiation tactics, and basically how businesses can win in the market, in competitive markets. What are the defensibility strategies and things like that.
Harvard Business Review slash McKinsey, like these types of things.
Things like that, exactly.
And what's the blog about? What are you thinking about doing with the blog?
Well, it's twofold. First, again, it's share knowledge. I think I have something to share, with entrepreneurs, with product managers, basically for them to become more successful. I know, there is a lot of information on the market, but when you get kind of condensed info in a
Practical.
set, practical info. Yeah, exactly. That can help, a lot of businesses to kind of to reach the product market fit and scale. And ideally, those businesses can bring value to the society. That is amazing. And I said twofold. And second purpose
Mhm.
is sort of selfish. I just want to do a little bit of exposure of myself, and tell
Of
the
course.
world about myself. So yeah.
That's such an underestimated component of this personal branding. And it does sound super corny. What's personal brand? But it's not about that. It's about the influence and the impact that you could have on businesses and on people. And it's not necessarily that there's this association like, oh, I'm going to extract a lot of money from people and sell them something. But even if you do
Exactly.
at a certain point, it's probably going to have better value than whatever is on the market right now. And those people who were your loyal followers will actually benefit from it. And why would you not spend 50, 100, $1,000 on something that makes perfect sense for you? Same as, for example, a coaching program or a product management
Totally.
course.
Totally. Yeah, it's gonna be free for now, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. So you uh, how like let's talk about the differentiation part because that was in my on my list of things to discuss. Like how do you look at differentiation in general and in general as a company and then maybe closer to the product itself?
Well, very good question. So, I think there are two. We can break it down into categories. First one is differentiation and the competitive advantage you can build as a company and as a product org. And second one is the long-term defensibility. So the first helps you become successful, and second one basically helps you stay there and be successful for so many years, like like Facebook
Mhm.
and some other companies have done, right? So for startups that and companies that trying to win the market even before staying there as a leader, um, it could be many different things. First is speed, right? Many incumbents, existing players, they have big orgs, a lot of processes, and it typically, hard to ship new things fast. Startup can do that very quickly. Secondly, if you have a unique team or unique expertise or, cornered resource, that could help you as well. Thirdly, there are different different strategies. So, for instance, Michael Porter, amazing resource for strategy.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote about different basically tactics. So you can go horizontal, and for instance, right now there are so many great horizontal businesses, and I think it's a great time to launch some vertical business, some vertical play. Well, I have a lot of experience in B2B SaaS. So, for instance, vertical end-to-end B2B SaaS, and because you firstly you better kind of address their needs, companies' needs, than a horizontal play, and because you address the entire kind of job to be done, entire value chain for these businesses, for your customers, you can firstly charge higher prices. It's much easier to do marketing because your marketing is so focused on on these businesses, on the exact problem, and you can win or the horizontal kind of systems, horizontal solutions.
And what's the difference, Alex? What's the difference with a vertical SaaS to horizontal? Vertical is where you control the whole bits or the whole process.
So I think a good example is so for before for newsletter, you probably could be using, I don't know, MailChimp, WordPress, some other patchwork of tools. Right now you can use Substack or Medium, which allows you to kind of address the entire job to be done that you have, writing blog posts, sending emails, newsletters, probably something else. And it could be even more expensive than MailChimp, but also if you kind of combine the entire kind of
journey,
the prices for the prices for so many tools, it will be definitely way cheaper, and you also can do better marketing because you're tailored to specific kind of customer and things like that.
So instead of you integrating, essentially, you have an email tool instead of you spending resources on, which you probably still maybe should consider down the road, integrating it with other API, with use an API with other tools. You instead build, like some people do, like Medium, like you build all in one place. Like what do you need to do with email? Oh, I need to send it to these people. I need to do something else. And it's all built into one tool.
Exactly.
In that sense.
Exactly. Or, a different example is Zoom that we're currently using right now versus, a different tool that we've been trying to use before the call,
which
but
didn't work.
It didn't work, but that would be a good example as well, vertical versus horizontal.
Right. And how do you make those choices as a startup when you don't have a lot of people, limited budget? Let's say you are looking to build a vertical tool. How do you decide what to build first? And maybe you should start with a horizontal model first and then go into vertical. How do you think about that?
Yeah, I think when you start a business, this is my opinion, you definitely want to start horizontal because, again, the biggest challenge as a business you have is addressing the need better than the existing solutions. And also the marketing play, the distribution play is two kind of difficult challenges you need to solve. And with vertical solution, it's way better to solve the distribution because, again, you can target your customers way better than a horizontal tool when you're trying to, spray and pray. So that's first. And I think it's super important to understand that you need to have some secret sauce, some we call it differentiation or secret feature that basically solves the customer problem better than existing solutions, because you always compete with with something the customers are using right now. So for instance, for Wrike, we've been competing with spreadsheets 5 years ago. Right now, we're competing more and more with similar tools like Asana, Monday, ClickUp, Smartsheet, and when we were competing with Excel and spreadsheets, it was much easier because Wrike can offer you so many differentiation, so many value. Then right now, you basically compete with very similar tools that don't really have any kind of differentiation there.
How do you do that? Like, what do you do? I like Asana. I mean, I use Trello and Asana.
Yeah.
Both are incredibly flexible tools. What do you, as a company, how do you think about that? Like, where do you take your product to compete, or maybe you don't compete? You try to position your product in a slightly different space, saying, "Oh, we're not this management tool. We are like a CRM for something else."
Exactly. So I think as a business, we kind of use the land and expand strategy, which basically, like in every player on the market, we land kind of small teams and then we expand to the entire company, or at least to more teams in the company. And the way I think everybody is doing that is actually landing vertical teams. So being vertical in a sense that we have some differentiation. Everybody has some differentiation for specific team. For instance, marketing team, professional services team, agencies. We have some cool features that help them automate their processes and be more efficient. And then we're trying to expand it into other departments to have a foothold into other teams where we can create value for those teams when, for instance, they're using spreadsheets or some other tools. And the other way we grow very fast is actually we land in a team, and then when you start collaborating with different teams and with different departments, it in itself adds so much value because right now basically everyone is working in silos and in disjoint tools, and when you have a single tool to work as one, this is basically how we win our hearts of our customers.
This is how you get everybody.
Exactly.
So what becomes important from a product management perspective, Alex, if you were to, let's say, look back at the time when you were competing with Excel, you did a set of things in product. How is it different now when you are competing with these big players that are more sophisticated players? What becomes more important or maybe less important in managing the product?
Very good question. And this is only kind of a perspective, but so again, before it was super easy to win the business. Firstly, because it's very easy to compete with spreadsheets. Yes. Everybody use spreadsheets, and if you add collaboration features, some I don't know, management projects, at scale features and things like that, it's very easy to win business. Right now the market is super competitive. Collaborative work management market is extremely competitive, and we need to, and we have become, and we need to be very smart about what moves do we do, where do we invest, allocate our resources, and what is the next kind of big acquisition channel, be it partnership play, be it a different target segment, where we see opportunity to acquire new customers, and then we potentially build a product solution to actually close these customers. It definitely changed. When the market saturates, it definitely changes. But this also goes back to the beginning of our conversation where we're discussing the differentiation, defensibility. So if you in this level of competition, this competitive market, ideally, when you start growing, you build some sort of a defensibility, and there are basically only 4 of them, based on on many strategies. But they argue about the number, but it's typically 4 of them. So network effects, economies of scale, branding, and switching costs. So if you, for instance, why Oracle or NetSuite or other players are still on the market, even though their solutions are could be considered as enterprise solutions, because it's so hard to kind of switch and go away from NetSuite, because the entire enterprise is basically kind of using that, and all of the processes are kind of built on top of this solutions. So ideally, to on a very high level of playbook, you grow as fast as possible. Super easy, right? You kind
of there you guys have it. This is a secret sauce. You've been doing it all wrong.
And then just use one of the four defensibility tactics: branding, switching costs, economies of scale, network effects, and that's it. You've built I don't know, $10 billion business. That's it.
So essentially what you said, and I'll come back to this point, in terms of, and we get the warning, which we will ignore, is in terms of you, for example, when you are competing with your product, like Wrike, against more established players, you're not only looking at building the features, you're looking at more intensely at partnerships. You're more looking intensely at highlighting a certain bigger things, bigger features, or more functionality that could work as a part of the ecosystem versus just the standalone things that make your tool a little bit better than Excel. So it's a little bit more higher scale, bigger scale play.
Right. Because building features, and also, a lot of companies just build features and doesn't really don't know what they're doing, right? And it also goes back to the potential questions: why do product teams do not do any research and discovery? But it definitely goes beyond just building features, because basically to build a $10 billion, $100 billion business, you need to be in a great market, that is basically in a great lake that is pushing you forward and not a headwind to you, right? Mm-hmm. Be in a great market, definitely solve a existing problem of the customer, and then have an acquisition channel, distribution channel where you can acquire customers. Again, super easy, right? At least to talk about that. And in time to stay there, to win the market and to stay number one, you need to have some sort of defensibility. For B2B SaaS, it's typically either switching costs or branding. You don't really have network effects, at least a lot of them. Probably Miro, X Real-Time Board, they have network effects, but typically you don't. So you employ either switching costs or branding.
What is it for Wrike? How do you make sure that people have virtually can't leave you? And I'm saying virtually can't leave you as a quote unquote, but how do you get them?
Yeah, good question. So it goes back to our kind of mission and the vision that we have to all of the employees ideally work as one in a company. Work as one towards a single goal or set of goals of the company, and the more teams and departments we expand to in the company, the more sticky solution is. And we also kind of offer such kind of features or solutions like automation, integrations, and other things to basically increase the switching costs, but also not to make the product as hard to use as NetSuite or Oracle, but also provide a very easy to use experience and intuitive solution. So it also kind of enjoyable and pleasant to use, like Slack or other sort of consumer B2B tools.
Right. So very, very usable across the company, and then will make people think about fight almost with their managers for do not ever try to unsubscribe from
you try to move from Slack to Microsoft Teams, and you'll see what kind of passion you want to see in customers' eyes. To be fair, Microsoft Teams has an amazing in my opinion, it has better kind of video conferencing tool than for instance Zoom or Slack. But Slack is by far the kind of the best in terms of UX. But in terms of business, still Microsoft has won the market because they had a better distribution channel, right? So it's not only about the product, and sometimes the distribution is much more important.
Alex, real quick, why when you are building products, folks are building products, discovery is often overlooked? Why does that happen?
I think it's maybe $1 million question. So firstly, firstly it's a company culture. So if the product managers, product teams have been doing it for so many years in a specific way, it's very hard to switch and kind of to do the change management, to do the things in a different way. Also, the kind of not doing research, and also it kind of connects to the question of outcomes versus outputs. Outcome is one step sort of removed from what you do, right? You first you have an output, and then you have an outcome if you're lucky, or if you have done enough research.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think it also happens in big organizations when companies, or at least in B2B SaaS, when companies have a lot of processes, a lot of stakeholders and different teams, for instance, sales, customer success, that are actually waiting for you because you have committed to launch this, and you have marketing launch on the calendar. You have committed to that, and it's very hard to push that deadline. For instance, if you need to change, if you uncovered some new insight when you've been beta testing this, so that could be as a reason as well. Then sometimes PMs are being too tactical, in a sense that if Scrum team, if the engineering team is not sort of self-sufficient, and they need some help, some tactical help to do Scrum ceremonies or things like that, then PM could be too tactical, and he or she wouldn't be able to allocate enough time to research, because he or she also have this sort of burden, or tactical things, operational things that they need to address. And I think it's also could be connected to, or at least I've seen that could be connected to OKR framework, because so you set the goals for the quarter, and then basically you have this 3 months time frame when you need to release something, maybe to get some results, but then in the next quarter you have different goals, and maybe you don't really have enough time to address customers' feedback, do additional research, and improve the your solution that you have shipped. Those probably, I don't know, things that I have on top of my head. There are probably more. Maybe PMs don't know how to do that. Haven't read the Mom's Test book, which is amazing.
We'll link it.
Yeah.
We'll link it.
Okay, sounds good.
Oh, this is fantastic. We should have actually asked you that question earlier. Alex, real quick on maybe a few suggestions. What product managers, product directors should start doing tomorrow in the next week at the latest that they're not doing right now?
Amazing question. I think for product leaders, there are 3 strategy books that I suggest to read to anyone. First, it's Michael Porter, Five Forces. The other one is Hamilton Helmer's 7 Powers, and the third one is The Innovator's Dilemma and Solution. I have forgot the name of the guy, but those 3 are the best research for strategy.
Christensen, right?
Christensen, yeah. Clay Christensen, exactly. Yeah. Those are amazing resources on strategy. Those are, literally 3 books that I recommend to every product leader, or, every entrepreneur. For PMs, I think, again, it goes back to what we discussed like 5 minutes ago. Discovery is super essential. You need to understand your customers. You need to talk to them. You need to have at least, 5 calls for B2B. You need to have 5 calls with customers. You need to, look into data. You need to be customer centric. There is overall, I think there is opportunity in business, in market and enterprise segments, because there are so many incumbents, and they have sort of, again, incumbent solutions that probably don't have an amazing UX. So, UX and building intuitive products, that is amazing. For instance, Typeform, they have so many. The market was saturated, but the guys have launched the amazing business. Perfectly UX, beautiful solution, easy to use, enjoyable to use, right? And they won the market. I think a year ago they reached this status of unicorn, which every startup is trying to achieve, right? So discovery, talking to customers, doing market research, and not only when you do market research and competitive research, you not only look into what kind of features competitors do have or do not have. You also need to understand how do you plan to win, right? And it's super essential to understand your current business and product differentiation, how you're currently winning deals, and why you're building, features, and why you're checking boxes when you do this market, and competitive analysis.
Well, there you guys have it. You have the books, you have the advice, you know how to do discovery a little bit better. Alex, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming.
Likewise.